lucky to have the privilege of having two amazing speakers. And real quick, for any of you guys that don't know me, that I'm Allie. I'm the manager here at Strong in Woodbury. And these two lovely ladies are going to pour into us tonight. So we have Jolene Daulton, owner of Daulton Physical Therapy and physical therapist herself. And then Cathy Carson, who is a certified Pietra fitness instructor, a member here as well. And so I will let these ladies take over and enjoy.
Okay, I'll start out. So as Allie said, my name is Jolene Daulton, and I own Daulton Physical Therapy and Fitness over in Hudson, Wisconsin, so right across the river. And I've been a therapist for about 38 years. We employ about 7 physical therapists. I'll say about because we have some part-time workers that come in on contract. But we're a pretty busy clinic, and we focus mainly on manual physical therapy. So if a lot of you are familiar with physical therapy, that is probably a bit more exercise-based, similar to what you're doing here. That for strengthening the body, I've done that for about half of my career, and then eventually got interested in looking at the body, healing the body a bit more holistically. Noticing that sometimes strengthening the body was great, we all need to strengthen, but sometimes there's underlying conditions that affect the muscle's ability to be strong or cause pain, so people say, I can't exercise, I have pain. So we, as a whole, at Daulton PT, are focused on doing a technique called fascial counterstrain. And I started training in that probably about 12 years ago now. It's a growing entity of physical therapy, a bit different. And we do focus a lot on inflammation in the body because we believe pain is basically inflammation. And the reason why I'm saying that now is because I'm going to segue into ways that we can look at preventing back pain and dampening inflammation in our body so you can exercise and strengthen your body to its fullest and optimally, okay? So with fascial counterstrain, we do identify in the body restrictions where the body wants to guard when there's a problem. And so when that guarding happens, inflammation is trapped in that area, and we look for ways that we can painlessly release that inflammation and get the body back in balance. So with that, I want to mention too, chronic systemic inflammation we're going to kind of touch on a little bit later at the end as well. It doesn't just cause discomfort, it leads to these muscle imbalances, it leads to spinal imbalances, it leads to joint dysfunction, and it can even lead to chronic inflammatory conditions like osteoporosis. Is anybody here that might have that condition? Cathy and I both do. So, all right. And by the way, how many of you are actual participants in OsteoStrong here? Okay, awesome, good, okay, all right. So over time, ongoing inflammation is going to impact your bone health, it's going to impact your mobility, and generally, it's going to impact your overall quality of life. So I want to focus tonight on the prevention side of things, right? So that you don't end up having to come to adult physical therapy. Well, you can come still. But I want to focus on the prevention side of that same equation, on how to move, how to lift, and how to live in ways that minimize inflammation and protect your body. And when inflammation or pain do take hold, that's where we do step in and help you get back to restoring your body back in balance and help you heal from the inside out. Okay? All right. So we will be creating the strong foundation, talking about creating a strong foundation for movement, for bone health and healing, and for long-term vitality. And we'll introduce that through proper body mechanics, proper posture, and also the baseline of both of those is neutral spinal alignment. Also, towards the other half of my presentation is going to be talking a little bit about healthy habits. Cathy and I will just both touch on that, ways that we can optimize the healing when there is injury that occurs, or pain, and also just optimize strengthening and help you to live a healthier lifestyle. All right, so we'll start off with the core principles of spinal safety and strengthening. And we'll touch on good posture in standing and sitting, proper body mechanics, how to move your spine when you're lifting, when you're bending, and then the importance again of what I'm calling neutral spinal alignment. So let's start there with neutral spinal alignment. So the importance of neutral spinal alignment, you can see by the picture here, and I have a little model here, and I'll adjust him so he looks about normal there in a minute. He's been traveling a lot. You'll see on this diagram here in the center, we have 3 curves to our spine. Oops, I'm sorry. don't want to show you that just yet. This is touchier than I thought, so I'll try to be careful here. There's an inward curve up at our neck. So I'll look on the body, on the woman who's laying prone on the bottom here. There's an inward curve in the neck. That's a lordosis of the cervical spine. There's an outward curve in the thoracic area where the ribs are attached, called the kyphosis. And then there's another lordosis in the lumbar spine. That is natural alignment of the spine. The structure of the spine was constructed to maintain those three S-curves, or those S-curves in the body, 3 curves. And the discs that you can see on the upright spine here with the little red or orange, whatever those are in between, those are cushiony, gel-filled movements, or movable pieces in the body that are cushions. They're also help with smooth or movement, smooth movement of the joints when we do move in the spine. So I want to emphasize that what I'm going to highlight here is keeping this spine in neutral alignment, as shown, when loaded. That doesn't mean we can't bend. Of course, with stretching movements, we do want to move that spine, but our spine, when loaded, is meant to be in neutral position. That's its strongest, most stable, just like this column over here, column of support. So when we move or lift that is not maintaining those curvatures, like shown here, you can see by the gentleman up here on the right, that rounded curvature of the spine. The gentleman in the bottom left, also obviously a little bit of a bent position. You can see that he already has some pain going on. And then the spine is basically in the curvature position. There's a vector force, and hopefully I don't flip my slide here, but there's a vector force right here where there's not that little inward curve that should be locked in place. Instead, it's rounded and stressed. And I want to demo what that actually means in the spine by using this little model and my big guy here. So let me give you a little look-see at this. So we have these 3 curvatures of the spine. They are shock absorbers, first and foremost. The cushions between help to absorb that shock, but realistically, the curvature of the spine also helps absorb that shock. So when we're walking or moving, that there is movement that occurs. It's subtle, but there is more of a shock absorptive quality than if it was a broomstick spine. Everybody can agree on that? Okay. One of the joints, I had a picture back here I missed, but one of the joints that I want to also make sure you're looking at is on the bottom right here. This is the hip joint. So notice on here, this is if it's in the right spot, this is a ball and socket joint. So if you look at the spinal model and the hip joint model here, you can see that there's tiny little joints between each of our vertebrae. This one's out of alignment. There's nerves that are in between each of those. They carry on into the rest of the body. And in between, again, are the discs. So if we look at how much movement this spine actually has, each joint, if we're talking about a joint, doesn't really have a whole lot of movement. But as a whole, we can obviously move this spine. If you look at the hip, I would maybe say that we have a lot more movement to this joint, correct? Okay, so taking that into a scenario of what's happening with poor lifting mechanics. This guy is really falling apart. I gotta put his nerve or whatever it is way back in there. Okay, this little model is basically taking like the lower 2 or 3 vertebral bodies, and I'm facing this way, so my spinal processes are right here. If you notice this spinal vertebral body and the disc that's in between, the disc is very gel-filled, and probably more so when we're younger. It gets a little less gel-filled as we get a little older. We dry out a bit. There's an annular ring that goes around that disc and contains that disc in place. You can see there's a spinal cord, the yellow cord that's going here, and then each of these little guys off to the side are our nerve roots that go down, and maybe when irritated could give us sciatica or some sort of pain going down our leg or even just in our SI area. So if I would bend forward here, you can see maybe here a little bit of that bulging quality, only to demonstrate that as I bend forward, I get a force going backwards, correct? You can see how that can happen. And then what's right there? Nearby, nerves, right? When this annular ring is intact and in place, it contains that. So when I do bend, I'm not gonna blow a disc right now, hopefully. But if that happens repetitively over time, I start to wear and tear that annular ring, tear maybe, but wear it thin over time. I like to picture like at IKEA when you go shopping. Do you ever see those machines that, they're doing 500 or 5,000, whatever, pushes or whatever it is to test the integrity of something? Well, if you picture, let's say that everybody may be different, but we have 2 million annular ring stresses that we can do in our back. Well, once you hit your limit, you might be to the point that the movement breaks, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and eventually that wears and tears, and there you go, blowing a disc. That could be picking up a pencil. That could be a sneeze. So you get why it does. It's like, I don't know how I hurt my back. I just bent over and I wasn't picking up anything. I picked up a sock and I blew up my back. So you can see that that's what can happen over time. So it's important for prevention that when you do move, when you pick up something heavy, or when you are just even bending over to do something, that you're aware of what neutral spine is. So if I keep that vertebral bodies locked and don't let it bend and move through my hip joint, you can see I can maintain a neutral position and not stress my back, okay? So I'm gonna highlight that in the next slide here, what neutral position looks like. You saw how the guy was rounded, right? So popping forward here. So you can see the spine in this example on the left, a cartoon drawing here. There's an inward curve at the neck under the hair. There's the kyphosis, and then there's that inward locked lumbar area. So I don't see a lot of this going on in that person where they're gonna be bulging out that disc. There's a nice inward curve as the spine is designed to be, and you'll notice that even how this sits, there is a little bit of part of that lumbar spine by the shape of the actual vertebral bodies that maintains that inward curve in neutral. Of course, when the gentleman lifts a really heavy weight, or when you're working on the machines here, keeping that inward curve is important. The way to support that too is that you want to make sure that you are also holding your stomach in as well. And I'm sure you get some of those cues when you guys are working these machines. Neutral position is important. Holding the stomach in to kind of wrap that corset nice and tight is part of that movement as well. And ultimately, if you look at both of these pictures, what's moving the most here? The spine joints or the hip joint? The hip is where that bend is occurring. And I got a picture over on the right here. The strongest muscle and the largest muscle in our body is our gluteal muscle. Hopefully it's the strongest. That is actually what is being stretched and then goes into a contraction as I stretch that muscle and I go into a contraction to bring myself upright. So glute strength is very important for a healthy back. That's part of your core muscles. And you are using that, like this gentleman here, I know one of your machines does the bent over lift. You're gonna kick in those glute muscles. So you need to be thinking about those muscles, that hip strength when you're actually lifting. Okay, so that is a neutral lift. Now, actually, do you guys mind? Do you want to do just a little demo of everybody? Do you have room to stand up? Sure. I'm going to have you do something just on yourself that you can test whether you understand movement happening at the hips. Everybody's got cups and stuff. Yeah. So maybe you can everybody kind of reach behind their back, either with two hands or even just one? Either like this or like this. What you're going to do is you're going to spread your fingers between your pinky and your thumb. One is going to be on your back, like in this area, your waist, just a little bit maybe above your waist, and the other one's going to be more on your pelvis or hips below the waist. So if you put those, you can use your thumbs too if you can reach that way, but if you put yourself into a neutral position, a nice standing posture, and now I want you to just pretend maybe that you're going to sit back on your chair. Are you going to round to do that? If you round, can you feel how your fingers might stretch when you do that? They sprawl apart if you keep them stuck to your body. So try that again. You can feel a stretch. That's what we don't want. We want to lock that spine in. Now stick your butt out, bend from the hip first, almost like you're doing a bow, like a waiter's bow. Can you do that, just a little mini bend, and feel like your fingers stay neutral, or they stay from spreading? Now, do a little bit of a waiter's bow, like you're bowing, butt is sticking out, and now just bend your knees down and lower your body. Can you keep that neutral spine? Okay, good, and then come back up. Okay, let's do that one more time. Hold your stomach in this time and drop yourself down into a bend at the hips, neutral spine, and come back up. Okay, so if you picture you're gonna lift up a basket of clothes. You're gonna bend down, stick your butt out, stomach is tight, and then lift straight up. Okay, neutral spine. Can you feel that? Everybody got an idea of that? Sometimes I do find that harder to teach on guys. Not to pick on you. Just for some reason, there's a lot of movement. Guys tend to, not move as much to the hips, but it is a bend at the hip that happens. That makes sense. You guys kind of stick your butt out. Everybody got a good feel of that? Okay, good. All right. Okay, so let's take that same posture, or same spine neutral into posture, and let's, I'll try to deal with my I don't mean to pick on you, sorry. All right, neutral position with posture. Okay, so if I got those curvatures stacked, if you look at the female here on the upper left, if I dropped a plumb line straight down from the ceiling, a vertical line, it would dissect her ear, her shoulder, the middle of her hips, and then if I kept going, her knee and all the way down to her ankle joint. Look at the gentleman next to her here on the right. Just a note, between those two pictures, if those were two different men, which one do you think would look older to you? First guy on the left. So I want to make a note about that too. Poor posture does age us. It traps a lot of our circulation, puts a lot of stress on even our brain stem, up into our lower neck, upper back. So his plumb line, if I drew a straight vertical line on the good picture, would do the same. Sorry, this is touchy. Would do the same. It would go down through his ear, his shoulders, his hips, and ultimately his ankle. Can you see how that would be neutral spine? So you want to stack your spine. Proper alignment of the spine and standing is curves are maintained, and you're stacking that vertical alignment between the ear all the way down to the ankle. All right? Sitting posture. Okay, that's kind of a, they say sitting is a new cancer, right? So again, back to our gentleman here on this picture. Obviously, if I were to draw a plumb line again, the picture on the right side, ear, shoulder, hip would be in vertical alignment. He's not really using his chair on that, but we'll see lordotic chairs that have a cushion on the back can help give you a passive support to that lumbar spine. And obviously this curvature here, very much of a C curve, very unhealthy, a lot of stress on his back. In order for him to look up ahead, he's got to hyperextend his neck, which puts a lot of stress and causes neck pain and issues. And then of course we have cell phones, so there's such a thing called cell phone neck. And here it definitely looks a little bit improper, I would say. There's no vertical stacking on this female on the bottom left. And then just a note to kind of teach our kids, because a lot of them, oh, I'm so sorry you guys again. Here we go. A lot of our kids are looking at phones all day long, right? Or iPads, or sitting in slump position. So that idea of a curvature, now he's leaning back a little bit, but his spine is in neutral in the lumbar area. His hips and shoulders are in alignment. And just by the nature of his forward tilt a bit, looking at his arms are up. It's not so bad. Maybe a little more of an upright position might even be more ideal there. Okay? So sitting posture taken into a work situation. On your handout, I did, on the back side here, I think, I did have a little handout for seated or standing desk positions. Do any of you have a desk job where you're sitting like for 8 hours a day or longer, or even for leisure, maybe sitting on the computer for a while? We need to take frequent breaks. On the hour would be a good idea to take a break from the computer. But obviously you can see the use of laptops are a little challenging, right? Because you have to go down and look at a screen, puts a lot of strain on the neck. So usually if people are at a workstation for a long period of time, I recommend down below the woman she may or may not have a separate monitor, but to have that looks like a Mac computer, but to have a separate monitor if you're going to use your laptop as a hard drive, and then maybe a separate keyboard if you don't want to go with the desktop. But obviously desktop, you can get that visual line at the top of the screen when you're in an upright posture versus having a crane and bend to see your laptop screen. Okay, and then the work ergonomic picture, kind of like the same one that's on the picture here. You can take a look at some of that visual on where your hip bend should be. She's got her feet up a bit so that she's got a 90 degree hip, 90 degree knee bend, and then she's using the chair for support. Her arms are 90 degrees at her side. Okay, same thing on the picture on the screen. All right, here's some everyday ergonomics. upper left, female doing some real heavy lifting like you guys will be doing here if you're working at OsteoStrong. Pulling in the abdominal muscles is important, but she is definitely keeping a lordotic position and really using her glutes across that hip joint on that lift. Necessary. She could even lift that thing if she rounded her back, right? All right, in the middle. Okay, we've got some possibility of snow in the fairly near future, and I get a lot of folks in that I went and shoveled my walk last night, and now they have back pain or they flared something up. So I want to just highlight a little bit of that, and as well as the vacuuming. So I have a little vacuum cleaner here. I don't know if that'll stay. So on vacuuming, these are sometimes a little more challenging for people to kind of visualize, how am I supposed to do that with a neutral spine, right? So the idea is footwork, okay? We want footwork. I have also limiting the twisting. Twisting meaning I want my hips and my shoulders to stay in the same plane. I don't want to be doing a lot of this. Just like you can imagine, if I twist the bottom of, and top of this one, I'm going to start wearing and tearing on that annular ring again, right? So we want to keep neutral spine as much as possible. So when I say footwork, I mean, if obviously if you can walk with your vacuum cleaner or your shovel, and light snow days, that would be ideal, keep an upright posture. And if you're gonna like work a corner or work a segment, if I'm gonna go like this, maybe the tendency is to kind of twist and do a little bit of this, right? I'm twisting, I'm bending. Am I in neutral? No, I'm not. But how about some footwork? How about if I do a little footwork here? This way. I'm just just doing a little steps as I vacuum or move. Okay, can everybody see how I can stay in neutral? If I have to get under something, I could still get down and do a little squat and keep my back fairly neutral here. I'm staying fairly close to the load, so I'm moving with it, so I'm not way out here, where I'm not gonna really be able to maintain much of a neutral position. So think smart, think neutral spine when you're doing activities, especially something that has a little load. Vacuum cleaners can be heavy, a little suction load. And then now as far as snow or shoveling, those nice ergonomic handles that you see with shovels, you can be a little more upright when the shovel's way down below, right? So you know what I mean by that? Have you seen one of those? I didn't bring one. But the idea of that is, yes, you don't have to bend as much, but if you don't have one of those, if you have to bend, a lot of times it's shoveling, twisting, right? Kind of whipping the snow out. So instead, can we go shovel, lift, twist, not twist, hips, twist, okay? So it's more, I'm staying in the plane, stepping. So a lot more footwork when you're working activities that are like shoveling, raking. So same with raking, instead of being out here, maybe it's stepping more. Get a little more workout, right? Using your leg muscles. All right, another one right down in the middle here, the golfer's lift. So that one's not the most ideal picture, but if I was to keep, you've seen golfers, okay? They're picking up, if they had to do this all day, that would, I think, pretty much wear and tear their back, right? Picking up the balls. So instead, there's such a thing named after golfers, where you can keep neutral spine. I'm still gonna move from my hip right here, but it's like a teeter-totter position. Let's say I'm just gonna pick up a sock, right? I can teeter-totter, I can drop down, takes a little balance, but if I got a counter or a bed nearby, I can hold on and lift this way. So I'm keeping neutral spine by kicking that back leg back, and then I can lift or lower here. A little more challenging, takes a little strength, better to hold on to something when you do that, okay? All right. I have to admit, it's a little tough to do laundry and loading and unloading dishwashers, because think about it, you have to go in, you have to go in this way, right? So I have my washers and dryers up on a pedestal, so not so bad. My husband's super tall, so that helps too for him, but because he does help with laundry. But if you're taking things out and you're, twisting, you still can get a little lower, drop it in a basket maybe, and then load this way, or be footwork again. Be cognizant of what you're doing with your legs. Dishwasher, hand on the counter. You can do a little golfer's lift or step back and try to work this way. Try not to take a big old stack of plates. Either way, maybe do a little bit more one at a time. But always thinking about, how can I keep this from rounding? How can I bend from my hips? How can I move properly so I'm not stressing that back and wearing out my discs, okay? Good. All right, so integrate that into everyday life. All right, so healthy habits. So Cathy will be talking a lot about this, and I'll move through these fairly quickly, but we talked about at the beginning trying to keep that inflammatory reaction down, right? Preventing it. So we use this little acronym called New Start. I came across it somewhere. I don't think anybody's, kept that as their trademark or anything so far, but New Start works really well here. So if you think New Start, today's a new day, right? We're going to start with new habits. Nutrition. Eating a well-balanced anti-inflammatory diet. Okay, I'm not a nutritionist. My daughter actually is, but to go into that in detail, I'm not going to do that. You can search anti-inflammatory diet, but typically like the Mediterranean diet is considered anti-inflammatory. But inflammation as a whole, poor healing, pain, chronic injuries, chronic diseases like osteoporosis again, are all related to inflammation in the body. So if we can watch what we're putting in our body and minimize inflammation that way, minimize inflammation in our gut where a lot of our immune system happens, we're better off. So I'm just gonna show, I added this slide actually. I just put down a bunch of things that fall into the basic inflammatory foods commonly eaten daily in America. All right, anybody recognize any of those? Anything you eat, possibly? Lots of them, right? Burgers, steaks, I mean, they can have, maybe organic would be a better choice on many of these, but sodas, teas, artificial this, artificial that, preservatives, all these things, our body doesn't recognize that. These are chemicals. Our body was designed to step out of a cave and eat what the earth gave us, right? That's what our body's designed to digest. So when we start adding a bunch of additives in foods, they sure taste good, but they can cause inflammation, okay? So in moderation, but again, if you are someone who knows you deal with inflammation, you might want to consider looking into more of an anti-inflammatory diet. Oops, sorry. E, exercise, you already know about that, you're here, but adopting a regular exercise plan, something you enjoy, something you can do consistently. 3 times a week for 30 minutes, maybe daily stretching. Cathy will talk about that as well. Walking, something that keeps you moving, something that, again, the key point here, enjoyable and consistent, that you can keep it up for your lifetime. Water, we're water beings. We're 75% water. Our muscles are 75% water. It lubricates our joints. It keeps our discs full. So we have this nice cushion. It helps our nervous system slide and glide and move efficiently. When you have only 2% dehydration in your body, you can have fatigue, cramping. You can be weaker with your lifts. Your muscles aren't as efficient. So hydration is key. It aids in the waste removal. When you have a really good workout and you're sore, we need water to help flush those byproducts of muscle metabolism. Muscles are breaking down, they're rebuilding stronger. Tissue repair requires water. So try to focus on getting about half your body weight, or work up to getting about half your body weight in ounces. So we're talking about pounds here. So if you're about a 120-pound person, you want to get about 60 ounces of water a day. Now you may not do that tomorrow, but maybe think about how much you're drinking and say, wow, I'm severely low on that. But the idea is, maybe that would be 3 water bottles a day. Maybe you kind of have something going throughout the day where you always have water available in your car or at your workstation or wherever you're at, for sure when you're working out. Okay, sunshine, get outside, absorb energy from nature. Sunshine boosts vitamin D, supports our bone and muscle and immune health. It does help reduce inflammation. There's a lot more studies that I'm going to quote here. It improves, obviously, mood focus. We get outside, it helps balance our circadian rhythm. Just 10 to 20 minutes of stepping outside and getting some sunshine is great. Good way to support the body. Maybe you're doing an activity that you enjoy outside, gardening, stepping out in the morning, having your coffee. We're in Wisconsin, Minnesota, so maybe that's not as feasible. Maybe you sit by a window that has a lot of sunshine coming in. But try to get some sunshine. And then air, that's the S of new start was sunshine. The A, I'm going to pull in here, even though I'll get to the T, is fresh air. Energizes and supports oxygenation. Get outside, maybe during work breaks. Use air purifiers if you can't do that, so you're getting good fresh air. Practice deep breathing, and Cathy's going to touch on that too as well in her speech. The T is temperance. So STA, we got the S and A. T is emphasizing balance and moderation, avoiding harmful habits. I think it's a given, like smoking, eating a lot of sugar, drinking a lot of caffeine. Those are inflammatory foods. They inhibit some of our healing processes. You want to use good things, but use them in moderation. That's including food, coffee is good, work-life balance, stress. Try to think about, gosh, am I really letting my body be ideal and optimal, or is there things in my life that are causing stress? So temperance is to take a look at those things and think about how you can do things in moderation. Still enjoy life, even exercise. Too much exercise, too frequent, too much can cause stress in the body, high cortisol breakdown, okay? All right, and then the R, STA, R, rest and recovery. Sleep hygiene, if you ever heard of sleep hygiene, basically trying to be regular in your sleep, trying to power down your blue screen activity, your phones. Don't keep a phone near you. Try to have a sleep zone. You know, your bed is your sanctuary. Try to make sure you're well rested. Try not to eat, drink caffeine, or even fluids too close to bedtime so you're up all night. So, you know, a couple things are written there. Even getting that morning sunlight helps to balance our circadian rhythm so our body knows, hey, time to get up. And then when it's time for bed, time to go to bed. It can help you sleep better. So sleeping well equals healing. And then T is for trust, S-T-A-R-T. My last one. This is relying on a force outside ourselves. So there's a lot of studies on this, believe it or not. But in the review called Religion, Spirituality, and Health, I quoted here, the research evidence by Harold G. Koenig, 2012 this was, the author find that many studies report that religious and spiritual involvement is associated with better health outcomes, including better coping with illness, better healing, lower rates of depression and anxiety, and in some cases, greater longevity. They've actually done studies to show people live longer and people get out of the hospital sooner. They have some studies on that in hospital situations, like ICUs. So putting it all together, safe movement, right? Good posture, attention to that neutral spinal alignment creates this foundation for lifelong strength and function. When we pair that up with the healthy habits, such as what we covered, nutritious eating, hydration, exercise, rest, spirituality, sunshine, all of that supports your body's ability to heal, to strengthen, and to stay resilient. So these practices are going to help you avoid injury, move with confidence, that old gentleman who looked a little more confident and younger, in good posture, and enjoy a life of vitality and wellness into the future. So just practical takeaways, kind of repeating myself here, but neutral spine with strengthening movements, lifting, standing, sitting, all activities of daily living. Use your hips, move your feet when you're trying to keep that spine neutral. Practice healthy habits, good nutrition, regular exercise, drinking fluids. And by fluids, we mean not a lot of coffee. That's not really a fluid. We're talking about water, obviously, is the best source, or even some of the flavored waters are okay. Plenty of sunshine, fresh air, deep breathing, practice life in moderation, sleep well, work on that, sleep hygiene for proper rest and recovery, and trust in a higher power. Okay. Injury, overuse, poor diet, stress can trigger inflammation. Chronic inflammation does slow, again, to repeat as I did at the very beginning, slows muscle repair, disrupts its sleep cycle, eventually can accelerate aging. So if you are struggling with pain, stiffness, and slow recovery, we can help you restore balance and healing. So that's my little plug for Daulton PT. You have the barcode on your paper. And also on your paper, you see one of them at least, we have the practical takeaways and also the new start that you can maybe pick something out that you really want to work on this week. And I think Cathy will talk a bit on that as well. So I am done, and I am going to hand this over to Cathy. Thank you very much. We'll have some.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You touched a little bit on the technique that you do at Daulton Physical Therapy that's a little bit different.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll real quickly. So at Daulton PT is what we primarily practice manual therapy. So the idea is to emphasize, like I said earlier, we are trying to rid the body of inflammation. We get people who come in with pain, chronic pain. You know, I'm not necessarily, we don't see a whole lot of post-ops, even though post-ops will have pain, because we're kind of booked out for like typically 3 months in advance or so. But the emphasis of our treatment is to balance the body, and we're balancing the body from the nervous system, from the lymphatic system. We treat viscera. We treat musculoskeletal, tendons, ligaments, bone. We pretty much pick apart the systems of the body and try to figure out by this really exclusive and proprietary scanning that we do or assessment that we do, we figure out, you know, what in your body, where did it start, or what's the source of this, or what is causing this cascade of other problems. So people come and say, I really have a really bad big toe. I got this inflammation, I've tried shots, I've done this, I've done that. Lo and behold, we know that there's a chain, muscle chain, all the way up to the tailbone. And they're like, oh yeah, when I was 10, I fell on the ice and broke my tailbone. And we start treating the tailbone and the toe pain goes away. It's that kind of thing. It's like we treat the body holistically. And it is very anatomically based and very physiology based. So there's no it's not a foo-foo thing, but people are like, oh, wow, what did you just do? There really is science behind it, and it, you know, it's revitalized my career. I love it, and every one of our therapists here that do it. Yes. What was that? You don't if your insurance doesn't require it. We take cash, of course, so you don't with cash. If you're Medicare, we usually get an order first because in order to write up a plan of care, Medicare requires that. So it's really based on what your insurance requires. So yes. Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, can you comment on sleeping? You know, you're young, you can sleep anywhere, any posture, position. And there's so much with your posture, your pillow, you know, and you wake up your neck, and it's like, as
Yeah.
you get older, and this mattress is so soft. On the side, laying on your back, and you can't probably say this is the best, but can you comment on what we should definitely not do? Or?
Yes. When you look at yourself sleeping, if you had a kind of bird's eye view, you really should be sleeping in as much of a neutral posture as possible. So you don't want a pillow that's putting you here, and you don't want a bed that's putting you here. So you want a good, firm, supportive bed. So if I'm laying on my back, for example, good supportive back, maybe a pillow under your knees allows you to have a little more neutral position. When I get that question a lot, I'm not to go into gross detail on that, but when I get that question a lot, like I've tried 17 pillows and I cannot find one that works. It worked for the first week. It felt really good. Usually what it is, it's not the pillow. You have a neck problem that will not relax sufficiently on your pillow. So you come in and maybe we take a look at your neck. It's like, oh, you're not moving at C2, C3. You know, why? What's stuck? What, you know, what's causing this restriction? It could be a whole cascade of things. But the idea is typically when you can't get comfortable at night, there probably is something in hypertone, hyperactive areas of your body that really just cannot relax anymore. And that's why when we're younger, I don't think we really have a lot of those developed. You know, our body's pretty resilient, it's pretty bouncy, right? Then after time we sit, we do a lot of lifting, we eventually have a mini injury that becomes a bigger injury and it's tight. And the body doesn't necessarily unwind that injury, it just finds another way to compensate for it. So we find all these compensations and people come in and it's like, oh my gosh, your body can hardly move, it's rigid. So to answer your question.
Have your side sleeper or back sleeper?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're comfortable on your side, doesn't hurt your shoulder, usually I recommend a pillow between your knees because that keeps you from twisting when you sleep. So a pillow between your knees for side sleeping. Make sure that your pillow that you're laying on keeps you in neutral position. So if you took this whole neutral spine concept, if you took that and just made sure that, you know, am I laying where my neck has a little lordosis, my back has a little lordosis, and my spine is in fairly neutral without twisting, find a comfortable position, use pillow support. You know, find a pillow that gives you some support so you're in neutral and not, you know, finding, a lot of times I find people, I'm sleeping on 2 pillows and I can't get comfortable. It's like, well, are you like this? So that's part of the idea of neutral spine, same thing with sleeping. And if you can't get comfortable in neutral, then your body's not happy in neutral and we need to figure out what is actually messed up. I can say that, yeah.
Can you comment on people that have RA on that?
Yes, that's an underlying disease. Yeah, for sure. That's like an underlying inflammatory disease. So some of that is based basically on your genes. It's typically runs through the family. So there are ways to manage that. Those healthy habits that we just talked about, all of those, for sure. Anything you can do to minimize inflammation from the outside in. And then again, a lot of times if there is still, just like anybody without RA, if there are still restrictions in areas of your body, your pelvis is aligned, your body's always working hard against something, keeping that quiet, bringing that back down to neutral, getting proper alignment, all of that can help you balance the body better so that you don't have stresses that are causing that trapped inflammation or additional inflammation. But that is typically managed medically.
Right.
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
Curious
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Yeah, and I have had some people, you know, for sure with osteoarthritis, but rheumatoid arthritis is a more inflammatory condition that don't have to take as many meds or are fairly pain-free day to day, where they were always struggling with pain because they did some of the other things we covered here. So, yeah, good.
So I have a question too. So on my lower spine, there's really nothing.
No cushions
there.
left? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you grow that?
No, not necessarily, no. I mean, when there's degeneration, it's like a dead plant. You know, can we water it? We might. I mean, if you have a lot of compression going on because your muscles are tight and you release that, it could infiltrate more fluid. I don't know where that is in anyone's particular stage. It's a trial and error, but it's like having a plant. It's like, if I water this, will I see, pretty soon you see some sprouts coming out, right? Oh, there's some roots that are alive still. It's kind of like the body. The tissue may have some good circulation and can recover somewhat, meaning what's there and alive still is going to grow, versus if everything is just kind of withered and no longer, the cells are no longer active, it might be what it is. And then you support that with good, strong muscles here that keep your back strong. Working on core. Yeah, it's almost like you have to build that internal corset and maybe even wear an external corset if that helps on your spine. Okay? And I'll stop here, but I will stick around afterwards and answer a lot more questions if you guys have some more. And I'll let Cathy take her time and finish up what she has very important things to say as well. Okay, Cathy, I'll move this.
First, do
you guys want to look at this if I pass it around? I don't know if anybody wants to see
one
it.
of these.
Just a little toy.
You could stick it on your paper. We're going to do something with that in a minute, but just pass it around. Thank you. So I'm just going to switch over our presentation, or my presentation. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jolene. Gosh, wonderful reminders of practical and proactive advice on how we can every day make a new start, right? Because life can be so full of unanticipated surprises and in regards to our health and well-being. So speaking of trust, I loved that one slide that she had and talked about the T being trust. I found this image, and I wanted to start with this image, because I think it's such a picture of trusting, right? And so, as I'm sure we've all experienced this or witnessed it in our children or grandchildren in our lives. And so I have one more reminder before we begin, and that has to do with the blue Post-its that I just passed out. Did everybody get one? Okay, so, and everybody has a pen, right? All right, so I want everybody to write themselves a note to take home, and then you can put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day. All right, so are we ready? Okay, this is the note. You, Y-O-U, were made for greatness. You were made for greatness. That is the reminder. So what if we were to cast this vision every single day? What would the next hour be like? What would the next day be like? What would the next week be like? So my name is Cathy, and it is a gift to be with you here tonight as we cheer each other on in this call to greatness. So, as so many of you are, I'm also a client here at OsteoStrong. And I'm also a certified Pietra fitness instructor. Show of hands, has anybody ever heard of Pietra fitness? Wow, couple, that's good. Then this will be a good learning opportunity for you today. So at Pietra Fitness, we believe that each of us was made for greatness. So before moving on, I want to help understand what does this actually mean, right? Well, we were each made by God, and we were made in His image and likeness. And each human person is sacred. And as St. Paul said in the Bible, our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. And we have each been endowed with a particular mission that only we can fulfill. That leads us to the reality that we were and we are made for greatness. So the fact that you're here tonight tells me that you have an interest in learning. And as human persons, we not only have a body, but we have a mind and we have a soul. We're holistic, as Jolene was speaking about. So let's begin with our minds. So we're going to use our minds to think of some habits that weaken the body and some habits that strengthen the body. And we're not going to do an audience participation shout out in the interest of time, but just maybe hold something in your mind, something that you know that if you do this, it's going to weaken your body, or something that you know if you do it, it's going to strengthen your body. And Jolene already gave us a ton of them. So I did make a slide that gives us some help here with just some suggestions. So some habits of body and soul that weaken the body are sedentary lifestyle, poor diet, lack of good sleep, no time for prayer, isolation. So maybe you have some others, but I think those are, one of many. And then strengthen active lifestyle, good nutrition, stress management, daily prayer time, and then social and family time. So these lifts are very different, but they have something in common. They have common ground. Any guesses on what that common ground is? Well, I'll tell you. Every one of those habits required a decision. And we always have a decision to make, right? So it's either the path of least resistance or the path to greatness. And the path of least resistance often can feel easier in the moment. So where do we draw strength from to overcome this? Well, we must look at the foundation of the decision. So let's look at what sacred scripture says about this. So this verse is from 1 Corinthians, and this is St. Paul speaking. According to the commission of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and another man is building upon it. Let each man take care of how he builds upon it, for no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. So if we want to thrive from a strong and solid foundation that doesn't sway based on our emotions or our thoughts or our time or our energy level, we can trust Christ to be our strong and stable foundation where we can rest and be strengthened. So at Pietra Fitness, Christ is the foundation. And in fact, this inspired the name Pietra. Any guesses on what this Italian word means? It means rock. So with Christ as our solid rock foundation, Pietra Fitness is a Catholic fitness program to strengthen the body and mind and soul. And we desire to glorify God with our entire human being. So we combine Christian prayer and strengthening exercises, and then we'll help you build an unshakable foundation, both physically and spiritually. So let's dig into some practical ways that we can, that Pietra Fitness can help strengthen you or support you in this pursuit to greatness. Our whole person wellness practices are incorporated into each class. So we're going to look through the lens of how these practices strengthen the body, mind, and soul, as well as experience some elements of a class tonight in just a few minutes. So I'm going to walk you through a few. First of all, Pietra Fitness strengthens the mind through intellectual formation and focusing on the muscle being stretched. So it's a very in-the-moment practice and how your body feels in each exercise. Since we're integrated persons, the whole person wellness practices include strengthening the mind as well as the body and the soul. And then, as Jolene mentioned, deep breathing and gratitude. So for example, deep breathing and gratitude. So long deep breathing stimulates the PNS, which is that parasympathetic nervous system. In fact, just before tonight, we were using the biocharger, and that was one of the choices, parasympathetic. So when you're in, you can choose that one as well. So what this does is it pulls us out of fight or flight or freeze mode, and then the prayer of gratitude nourishes the soul. So deep breathing and gratitude is practiced at the beginning of every single class. So it's just a wonderful way to start the class. So we're going to do just a couple minutes of this, and I'm going to start some music, and we're going to do a little breathing together. So this music is typical to what kind of music is played in the background in a class, just very relaxing music. Oop, and I think my Bluetooth went off, so I'm going to turn it on. There we go. All right, so Just sitting up in your chair, just closing your eyes if you're comfortable. We're just going to start to take in some deep breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just allowing yourself to relax. If you want to use one hand on your lower abdomen, you can do that for feedback, just to feel the rise of the belly. Just imagining like you're pouring a glass of water to the bottom of the glass first and then filling it up. And our goal is to lengthen that exhale. So maybe even counting as you inhale to a count of 4, and then exhaling to a count of 6 or 8 at your own pace. And then now drawing your mind to gratitude. Just thinking about what you're most grateful for today, and just taking that time to thank God for that. And as we focus on the breath and the presence of the Holy Spirit, I'd like to share this verse, which is from Isaiah 58:11. And I just want you to imagine that this is our Heavenly Father speaking directly to you personally. Then the Lord will guide you always and satisfy your thirst in parched places, will give strength to your bones, and you shall be like a watered garden, like a flowing spring whose waters never fail. So you can open your eyes and just note how you feel after just a few minutes of deep breathing and gratitude. So next, Pietra Fitness strengthens your body through stretching and strengthening exercises to improve posture, balance, flexibility, strength, and spinal joint mobility. Every Pietra Fitness class is balanced through moving the spine, as Jolene said, through all planes of movement. So in other words, forward bends, back bends, side bends, twists. And then research has shown that regular intense stretching for a minimum of 10 minutes a day will bring some major beneficial benefits to the neuromuscular tendon units. And increased strength and endurance has been reported, as well as improved flexibility and mobility. So we're going to glorify God a little bit by using the gift of our bodies. And I'm going to have everybody just stand up for just a minute. And we're going to do some warm-up exercises that were typically done in a Pietra Fitness class. So I know it's a tight space. So we're going to start out with our good standing posture. So just looking down, making sure that your feet are pointing straight ahead and that your feet are hip distance apart. Inhaling the shoulders up, sliding the shoulder blades down, lifting the kneecaps to kind of engage those quads, and then drawing that corset in, the core, tightening the glutes a little bit. And then your ears are balanced over your shoulders and your shoulders are over your hips. Lengthening out through the top of the head. Maybe even close your eyes for just a moment, noticing how that feels, and then open your eyes. All right. So we're going to do, we call this angel arms, which are normally to the side, but we're going to go straight forward since we're going to run into our neighbor. So we're just going to inhale the arms straight up, and then exhale, release them down. So we're just going to do 3 of those, inhaling the arms out and up, or straight up and down. And then one more time, inhale up. Instead of coming down, we're going to clasp the hands, press the palms up to the ceiling, draw the shoulders down. On an inhale, we're going to exhale to the right. I'll mirror you guys so that we're all going the same direction, and then inhale back to center. Lengthen as you inhale and exhale to the left. And inhale to center. And then bring those hands forward. Turn your palms around. And we're just going to round the spine. And then inhale, straighten that spine back up. Bend your elbows and bring your hands behind your head. And then just draw those elbows back. Lifting the chin just a bit to stretch the front of the neck. And then release those hands. And then let's just rotate the shoulders. One direction and then the other direction. So we were getting that synovial fluid moving through the joints. So you can have a seat, thank you. So just that little bit of stretching. And then notice how you feel now. I mean, just getting that little bit of movement, getting the blood circulating. So thirdly, we're going to strengthen the soul in a Pietra fitness class through prayer, which includes sacred scripture, Christian meditation, writings of the saints, and more. So different types of prayer within a class are petition, intercession, thanksgiving, praise, and bodily prayer. So by strengthening the soul through these practices, one can experience a deeper prayer life, more easily apply faith to day-to-day life, and grow in virtue and gratitude. So you may have heard the phrase, ora et labora, pray and work, or pray always. It's a scripture. This is a way that you can do that. You know, you're actually using your workout as a prayer. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to be sure to say is that this is countercultural to many of the mind-body spirit workouts that attempt to clear the mind. So we never cue to clear the mind in a Pietra fitness class, because our mind is meant to be used. And we strive to answer the call from St. Paul that he states in Romans 12:2, do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect. So now, to conclude, we're going to practice just a few minutes of Christian meditation that together. And this meditation also includes a prompt for a resolution, which is also included in every class. Normally they're done separately, like the meditation is during a restorative pose and the resolution is at the end, but I'm going to put them together. And in this part of class, we change the music to more sacred music, which is Gregorian chant. So if you want to sit comfortably again and just close your eyes. And we often will turn the lights down as well during this part of class. Which I won't do here. And then I'll read our meditation and resolution. Just bear with me. I will find it. Okay. Mother Teresa was an 80-year-old nun, just 5 feet tall, and she changed the world. In his youth, John Paul II was a construction worker by day and an actor at night, and he changed the world. Everybody has greatness within them, and all of us can achieve something great in life. Sometimes we allow ourselves to settle for the mediocre, the ordinary, the everyday, possibly because others tell us we cannot achieve, and we do not have the capacity, the gifts, the personality, or the talent. Don't listen to those voices, whether they be the negative voices of others or the negative voices from within yourself. Rather, take a chance. Be positive. Be courageous. Don't be afraid to make things happen and to be someone. God has created you for greatness, and He has sent you into the world with a purpose. And this means that you are a gift. You are a gift from God. And we need to allow that gift to live and to grow and to do great things. From 1 Peter 2:9, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own, so that you may announce the praises of him who called you out of darkness into this wonderful light. Great things don't just happen. People make them happen. People of courage, vision, and determination. People like you. Today, be great and change lives, change the nation, change the world. With God's grace, you have it within you to do it. Come, Holy Spirit. So you can open your eyes and just notice if you feel a little bit more at peace, a little bit more loved. And then think about that resolution. You know, Jolene had that wonderful acronym of what way are you going to leave here with an action step. With God, all things are possible. So I want to also let you know that we're doing a drawing, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, before we do that, really quick, at Daulton Physical Therapy, I do teach an hour-long gentle Pietra fitness class on Tuesday evenings, but this week I'm doing, there's no class tomorrow night because Wednesday I'm doing a free class. If anybody would like to come and just try a class and see what an actual class is like, because I know tonight is very limited of what we could actually do. Just let me know. We need RSVPs because space is limited, but you can let me know personally, or there's little handouts on that table that you can just email Daulton. And then also, there's an online studio for Pietra Fitness, and it's only $10 a month and unlimited classes, but I know people tend to prefer in-person classes, you know, just for the social and everything else. But I'm giving away a year's worth of the online studio to the lucky winner. So yeah, why not? Let's do it. So if you have this number, then you, wait a minute. Oh, I see. Oh, we did put the names on them. Okay, I was thinking, never mind. Cindy, you won. Okay. Well, there you go. So here is a URL. So you could just keep that and just copy that URL into here, then you'll get a year free.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I do want to thank Allie and all of the OsteoStrong staff for inviting us to speak here tonight, and Jolene for being here with me as well. And we would love to hang around and answer any questions as well afterwards if you have any. So thank you for your attention.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, too, for coming, and thank you, both of you guys, for your expertise, your inspiration, your knowledge. It was amazing. Also, they have a table over there with all their information. I'm going to send out a text too, so you have the link. I want everyone to know too, if you're not a member here, we do have a special offer for you. We would love to register you for a complimentary intro session to kind of get an idea of what we do here. We help people build bone mass, help with balance, overall strength, in just about 15 minutes a week. And so I know we have a lot of members here too, but if you are interested, we would love to. We'll be hanging out too. We can get you scheduled for your intro session. Like I said, it's complimentary, and then we do have special offers too if you decide to join. At that intro session, we are doing $100 off the enrollment fee. Plus, we want to give you our top valued membership for the lowest cost membership that first month. So you can really get an idea of everything that we have to offer you here. So a little fun. And then the surveys. We did give everyone surveys. If you guys wouldn't mind filling those out, we would really appreciate it. And then we're actually going to do a drawing for that too. So anyone that fills it out, just drop it off at the front desk, and then we'll put you into a drawing for a free modality. We have hydro massage here, and then a PEMF mat, which is also known as a grounding mat, with red light therapy, and then compression boots. So we have a lot of really wonderful recovery. We call it the treat after the session. That whoever wins can take part in that. So make sure to drop that off. And then if you are a member here, we want to remind you of our membership referral program. So please, bring a friend to your next session, have them try it out. If they do end up signing on as a member, you do get a month free. So there is a benefit for that. And honestly, it's just because we want to help more people. So we just want to make it fun. Like I said, bring them in when you come in for your session. Just let us know ahead of time. And then we'll show them what you do, and then we can take them through. And we just know there's a lot of people out there that we could really help. So again, I think that's everything. But we'll all stick around for questions and all that. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.